Unlimited Leader Spotlight. Today's video we're going to be looking at a leader card from the Stars Unlimited trading card game. We're going to be looking at some cool cards that work pretty well with the leader. That being said, there are a couple rules we need to go over before we really get into the video proper. Starting off, not every card we talk about in today's video will exactly be perfect with each leader that we talk about, but they will be personal preferences and I'll have a lot of synergy with the leader in question. That also being said, every card in this video won't be making it into this video. Rather, not every card we actually like with these leaders will make it into today's video because we want to keep these videos as short as possible. That being said, let's get right into the leader spotlight. Talking about in today's video is from a concept that I'm not too big on as a Star Wars fan, but that doesn't mean that it's not a popular concept, which makes sense why it ended up in the game. That's going to be the Inquisitors in general, but in particular the Grand Inquisitor. Now the Grand Inquisitor is an aggression and villainy aspected leader card. He's going to be Force Imperial Inquisitor, and he's going to have an action to exhaust him, deal 2 damage to a friendly unit, and then with 3 or less power, and then you get to ready it. Now, this means that you're going to be able to do more attacks during your turn than your opponent's going to be able to do with your units, although you're going to have to take some big penalties for doing so. We're going to look at some cards that either can A, handle those penalties, or B, maybe even benefit from having those penalties coming on to the character there. So, when you have 6 or more resources, you can deploy him as a leader unit, and he's going to have a 3/6 stat line. On attack, you may deal 1 damage to another friendly unit with 3 or less power and ready it. So it's like the similar ability, but a slightly more powerful. So let's take a look at some cards that you may want to play with the Grand Inquisitor in the Star Wars Unlimited trading card game. So say you want to play him on aggression, or rather, let's just look at some of the aggression cards you want to look at. When you're using the Grand Inquisitor, and also let's say you want to play him on double aggression. What type of bases can you use? Obviously, you have Tarkin Town, deal 3 damage to a damaged non-leader unit. Obviously, a pretty powerful effect there, but it may not always be useful. 3 damage is a lot of damage to do to your own unit, so you'll not really ever be using it that way. But you can also use it to do some burn damage to your opponent, which is never a bad thing. But just keep in mind that you will be losing 5 health instead of the normal 30. You'll be down to 25, right? So what are some unit cards you can put in your deck? Fifth Brother's a 3-cost unit. It's going to be 2/4, and it's going to be Inquisitor Force Imperial. This unit gains raid 1 for each damage on him. It's like Grit, but a little bit worse. On attack, you may deal 1 damage to this unit and 1 damage to another ground unit. So obviously, he synergizes really well with Inquisitor. You can deal damage to him with Inquisitor's ability and allow him to reactivate that on attack ability multiple times. But also, you can deal damage to his own effect to get him even bigger and more powerful throughout the game. Also, obviously, another Inquisitor is going to be the Seventh Sister. Seventh Sister is going to be a 5-cost unit, 3/6 Saboteur, and when this unit deals combat damage to an opponent's base, you may deal 3 damage to a ground unit that opponent controls. Obviously, she's going to have a big 6 HP and 3 power, so she can be used with the Grand Inquisitor. And that means that you can use this ability multiple times, dealing multiple instances of damage to your opponent's base, and then dealing some burn damage to your opponent's character units on the field. What are some other cards you can use? As you'll see throughout this video, a lot of the cards will fall into the sweet spot with 3 or lower health and then 3 or higher HP to make sure that you can actually use them with the Grand Inquisitor's ability. So we have the Partisan Insurgent, 2 costs, 1/4. While you control another red unit, this unit gains raid 2. So obviously it's only at lower than 3 power, but then you can use this raid 2 ability multiple times using the Grand Inquisitor. It has a hefty 4 HP for its cost. And then you also used Admiral Ozzel. Now this is actually a bit of a weird idea here, but it's something I'm throwing out there because there's something you can do. 2 costs, 2/3. Now he has an action to play an Imperial unit from your hand and enter plays ready. Your opponent, of course, can now play a ready unit themselves. But the important thing to note here is that with his ability, it's an exhaust ability. You exhaust him to do it. With the Grand Inquisitor here, you can actually ready him using Grand Inquisitor's ability. So you could actually get some extra effects out of him. But also, he allows you to play units from your hand into play ready, which means with that ability and Grand Inquisitor, you can get multiple attacks out of other units throughout the game. So who else do you have? You have the Imperial Interceptor, is going to be a space unit, 4 cost, 3/2. When you play it, you can deal 3 damage to a space unit. Pretty self-explanatory, just a really good aggression card in general. You also play the Aggression Innate event. If you're going for the double aggression idea, 4 costs, choose 2 in any order, draw 1 card, defeat up to 2 upgrades, ready 1 unit with 3 or less power, which is going to be one of the biggest things we're going to be looking at here. Then it deals 4 damage to a unit, which is always going to be good. You can choose 2 of those in any order. Now, let's say, for example, you want to play some other event. You can play Keep Fighting, which is going to be a tactic which sort of falls into the same idea that the Grand Inquisitor is already playing into. 2 cost, Keep Fighting event, ready a unit with 3 or less power. So then also that's going to be it for aggression. But I think there's some other things we're going to talk about in today's video, and we're going to talk about one of my favorite ways to play the Grand Inquisitor, which is going to be on the blue color, the blue aspect of Vigilance. So when you're playing him with Vigilance, you have some good options here. I actually really like playing him with the Security Complex, a 25 HP base, but it's going to have the ability that as an epic action, you give a shield token to a non-leader unit. Now, obviously, you're dealing a lot of damage to your own units, so the ability to put a shield on them and then just have that damage be soaked up by the shield is actually really cool and really powerful. And then, of course, if you really want to, you can play one of the basic bases for 30 HP. What else can you do? The Scout Bike Pursuer is going to be a 2-cost unit, 1/4. It's going to have Grit, which is the ability I mentioned earlier. It's basically going to say that for this unit, it's going to get +1 power for each damage on it. And obviously, both using the Grand Inquisitor's ability there, you can actually put more damage counters on this dude, make him even bigger, ready him up, swing him multiple times a turn, and he actually has 4 HP, so he's actually be able to stick around for a little bit, being that fact that he's a 2-cost unit. Then obviously, you can have some other units like Bay's Malbus, 4 cost to 5 grit again, and then while you have the initiative, he's going to gain Sentinel, so he's going to have that nice ability of Sentinel there, but also grit again, 5 cost to attack, so he can be used perfectly with the Grand Inquisitor's ability. Then you have Rugged Survivors, which is going to be a 5-cost unit, 3/5, grit again, so again the same concept. And then on attack, if you control a leader unit, you may draw a card. And this ability does not say once per round or once per phase, once per turn, which means that if you use this card with Grand Inquisitor, you can actually draw upwards to 2 cards off this card's effect. Space units you can play on Vigilance. Obviously, you have the option of the System Patrol Craft is going to be a blue space unit, 4 cost, 3/4. Sentinel, just a good ability, just a genuinely good card, but the stats make it work well with your leader. Then you can also play the Inferno 4, again, 2 cost, 2/3. Stats work with your leader's ability. When played, when defeated, look at the top 2 cards of your deck and put any number of them at the bottom of your deck and put the rest at the top in any order. Good filter card, generally a good card, and works especially well because of its stat line in the Grand Inquisitor deck. Repair is going to be an event, 1 cost, repair. Heal 3 damage from a unit or base. Obviously, you're going to be dealing a lot of damage to your own cards, and that means you're going to want to keep them alive somehow if you want to get multiple uses out of a singular character, and then you're going to want to repair them. That's simple. It's going to allow you to put allow to keep bodies on the field a little bit longer, heal them up, and use them again with a Grand Inquisitor's ability. And then also, on a similar note, it's going to be it binds all things, 2 cost, heal up to 3 damage from a unit. If you control a force unit, which you have a lot of Inquisitors, the Inquisitor himself is a force unit, so when he gets on the field, this will activate. But if you have some other force units in your deck that you can play, you may deal that much damage to another unit, which is going to be really important here because that's going to allow you to do a little bit of burn with that healing ability. And then you can take a look at Resilience. It's going to be upgrade, 1 cost, +0 power, and +3 HP. Perfect upgrade in the Grand Inquisitor deck because it's going to give you more HP. It's going to be able to take more damage from the Grand Inquisitor and elsewhere, from other sources. But then also it's going to get no extra power, which means if your card already has the power requirement for the Grand Inquisitor's ability, it's not going to gain any more power. It's just going to get that beautiful +3 HP. So that's really why I like playing Vigilance with the Grand Inquisitor. But you can also play him with Cunning, obviously, because you have the ability to play him with obviously all the aspects. So the Jeddah City is a pretty good option here. Again, you're going to want to keep your characters alive, so when they're attacking in with a big swing, then actually your opponent not having really a good option, a powerful unit that can strike back is actually really important. But of course, you can play the basic base instead. But with that, I really like here. 3 cost, 3/5. He's going to have an on-attack ability. If this unit is attacking an exhausted unit that didn't interplay this round, deal 3 damage to the defender. Really, you're playing him for the fact that his ability is on attack. And then you're playing him for the stat line as well. And then you have Bib Fortuna. Similar idea. 2, 1, 3. Shielded, which means that he comes into play with a shield token, which means the first instance of using Grand Inquisitor with him gets completely absorbed. And then he has an action, you get to exhaust and play an event from your hand, and it costs 1 less. Really powerful ability for the Grand Inquisitor in particular, because he has to exhaust to do it. And so he can come into play shielded, and then you can ready him with the Grand Inquisitor, and then he gets rid of that shield, and you can use that ability almost instantly. Really cool. Then you can also play the Outer Rim Headhunter, 2 cost, 1/3, raid 1. On attack, if you control a leader unit, may exhaust a non-leader unit. Obviously, has a nice on attack ability, and its stat lines will allow it to be used with the Grand Inquisitor at least once, unless your opponent attacks into it first. And then, of course, you have the 7th Fleet Defender. It's going to be a 3 cost, shielded again. Same idea, 3/2. Just some good stats there. You also get the Asteroid Sanctuary, 2 cost event. It's going to exhaust an enemy unit, a little bit of protection, but also give a shield token to a friendly unit that costs 3 or less. 1 cost, shoot first, allow you to attack with a unit. It gets +1 and +0 for this attack, but it deals common damage before the defender, which can be really important when you have a really damaged unit, but have a really high attack with raid or other sources. And it doesn't mean that you're going to swing in with that unit and hopefully not take any damage in return. And then obviously I already talked about the Asteroid Sanctuary, but again, 2 cost, exhaust an enemy unit, give a shield token to a friendly unit with 3 costs, cost 3 or less. Obviously really powerful there to put shields on your characters to allow you to soak some damage when you're using the Grand Inquisitor's ability, but also from when your opponent's attacking you as well. So when you're going to go for command, the Echo Base is a pretty good option. I really like the actual base here, actually, because it's just going to give you some extra HP. Of course, you can always use it in the Conversion Lab or the Command Center. Command Center is obviously going to be a little more thematic if you're playing a villainous character, but as far as the first set goes, the difference between the two doesn't really exist. So then you have the Seasoned Sharpshooter. It's going to be a unit. 2 cost, 2, 3. If you control 6 or more resources, goodness gracious, this unit gets +2 power and +0 HP. So then it's going to get a little more powerful if you control those resources, but at the same time, it has a pretty good early game option for the Grand Inquisitor there. Rook I actually really like. 5 cost, 6, 3 shielded. A lot of things we already talked about in today's video. This idea of the 3 or lower HP, high 3 or lower power, high HP, shielded. All these things you like, but it gets even better because you can also use that when this unit deals combat damage to a non-leader unit while attacking, defeat that unit, and you can use this ability potentially multiple times per turn with the Grand Inquisitor, which means that you can deal in and just instantly knock out some opponent's characters off the field. I really like this card. Homestead Militia, 3 costs, 3, 4. While you control 6 or more resources, it's going to gain Sentinel. Perfectly good ability, works well with what a lot of we've been talking about, but also that Sentinel is going to allow you to give a little bit more defensive measures on your turn, or rather on your side of the board. The Consortium Star Viper is not a card we talk about a lot, but it's going to be a 3 cost, 3, 3. While you have initiative, it's going to gain Restore 2. That's an ability that activates when it's attacked, so if you're using it with the Grand Inquisitor's ability, you can restore multiple times per turn. The front line shuttled here is going to have a lot of synergy with the Grand Inquisitor. 2 cost, 1, 3. Action, defeat this unit, attack with the unit, even if it's exhausted. It can attack bases for this attack. Obviously, the face value synergy is really great. I don't really go too much into it, but lower than 3 power, higher than 2 HP. A beautiful ability that allows you to take advantage of attacking with people multiple times per turn. Absolutely amazing. And that's going to conclude all the main aspects. But of course, we have to talk about villainy real quick before we get into some other options. And then also, there's quite a few cards you may want to take a look at from the generic. So you have obviously the Thug World, the Underworld Thug, 2, 3. Just the stats just match up, but obviously it's not going to have much greater value. You're probably going to have better options. Frontier ATRT. Stats match up. If you control another vehicle, this is also going to gain Ambush. Works well with the Grand Inquisitor. And you can also play the Volunteer Soldier. It's just going to have a nice 2-3, raid 1. And if you happen to control a trooper unit, it's going to cost 1 less. But let's say you also want to play some villainy cards. The best villainy card, or rather the one that really pops out to me instantly, 3-3, 3 cost, Cell Block Guard, Sentinel. And that's really going to wrap it up for all the units you may want to play inside your deck and you may want to take a look at within the game of Star Wars Unlimited for the character of the Grand Inquisitor. The Grand Inquisitor is going to be a leader that's going to want you to deal damage to your own characters to get beautiful effects of multiple attacks per turn with that certain unit. And so you're looking for cards that can take a hit, that are lower than 3 power, and then of course can give you great benefits from attacking multiple times per turn. And we talked about a lot of different cards that do that in today's video, but I'm sure there's tons more that you guys have found that I haven't found, so please leave them in the comment section below and go out there and explore the game for yourselves. The game's coming out really soon. Watch some previous Star Wars spotlights, and watch some ones that we're going to drop in the future, because the game's only getting more and more exciting as we go along. Well, that's going to be all for now, but if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you guys go ahead and watch some of our other videos that we've made on this channel. Also, give this video a like if you thoroughly enjoyed it. And of course, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of our future content. And I hope to see you guys back at the Roost.